Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I am Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. Busiest day I've had in over a year, busiest week I've had in over a year. I'm actually getting out into the world a little bit, which is big for me.
I do
Um,
know. I do know. I'm excited for you.
so anyway, yeah, it's been a very interesting week, very interesting day, as I said. But we didn't have a podcast last week because you were out of town on a little vacation.
That's
And
right.
I'm excited to hear. We both have some stories to tell. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about over from the last 2 weeks here. So let's get right into it. I want to hear how your trip to Las Vegas went.
All right. So we went to Vegas. I think they were like 50% capacity, which, um, there was a pretty decent amount of people there, but I tell you what, I had one night that I stayed up till like 4 o'clock in the morning sitting at a blackjack table. Uh, Only ended up down like $40, but eventually I fell asleep at the blackjack table, and that was when I knew it was time to stand up and go. Uh, other than that, I gotta tell you, dude, the one thing I came out of Vegas is there's a lot of bums. They are everywhere.
By bums, you mean homeless people, right?
Homeless people
Okay.
sleeping in the middle of the street, sleeping in the middle of the sidewalk where you walk, just sprawled out all the way across the sidewalk. You like step over them. It was ridiculous. There was one homeless dude that just wore spandex, big fat guy wore spandex and a luchador wrestling mask. And he just stood there, and if you took a picture of him, he tried to get money from you. Uh, it was there was a we were in a little one of the casinos walking around. There's a little food court area, and one guy comes in and just starts screaming at the top of his lungs because they wouldn't give him a free hot dog at Nathan's. Go, can't give a bum a hot dog, and he's screaming throughout. We just walked all throughout this, like all the casinos are like malls basically.
Huh.
There's a casino area, and then it's just a giant mall, every one of them. So dude, just screaming. And like everybody's like, what is going on? And apparently the dude does it all the time because the people that work there were just laughing and like egging him on. And oh my gosh, it was crazy. There was a lot of that. The best story though, the best one. So we go down for brunch one day and we're sitting in this little cafe deal thing, and I gotta drop a deuce. So I get up, go drop a deuce. And as I'm sitting there, I notice that the dude next to me, I could see his feelers, right? He had some dirty white feelers, really dirty. And his foot was way out like by the door. So he wasn't pooping. He was like sitting in there. And all of a sudden, that foot slid right under the partition into my side of the of the pooper. His whole foot was in my stall. So I took a video of it. It was pretty funny. Sat there with had a video of the guy in there. Best part is that was before we ever got food or anything. It was before we even sat down. I go back out there. They're already sitting down. We eat. I get up afterwards. I got to pee. Go in. Dude is still in there. So now I realize it was a bum. He just went into one of the casino bathrooms and just sprawled out and took a nap.
Oh, so you're sleeping in there.
So he was sleeping in the stall. He had to get, it's a little warmer in there, a little cooler, I guess, because it was 98 degrees out there.
Wow.
Yeah, I had me a nice dirty piece of nice dirty pair of feelers hanging out in my stall while I was dropping a deuce. It was so great. I wanted to untie his shoes so bad.
Could you see him? Could you see his body? Was he laying on the floor?
No, 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 no. He was sitting on the toilet,
Oh, okay. Okay.
but his pants weren't down or nothing because there was. You could tell that just by because I could see his whole pants and foot over in my stall, pant leg, halfway
Wow.
up his leg. Yeah, lots of bums, dude. They're everywhere. They don't like ask you for money or nothing. A couple of them might have did. There's one dude trying to sing, but other than that, they don't really do a lot of that stuff. They're not like begging for money or anything. They just kind of sit there and they're all crazy. That was the one thing I took away from it. Now,
So that,
speaking Well, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, so some of them are actually trying to work for money a little bit, right? I mean, put on a wrestling outfit or
He did,
sing
yeah.
or
The guy that
something
was
like
singing
that.
said the same two things over and over. Uh, if you want me to shut up, then give me a buck or something like that. That's what he was singing. And then I don't know, there was something else. He just kept saying the same two lines over and over again. But that was basically it. Most of them were just standing around, just hammered out of their minds. Because you just walk around and drink. So they got like bottles of rum and vodka, and they're just one dude who was so great. Dude comes out of Walgreens and he's got a 6-pack of like wine or something, like cans of wine. And he sits
Six-pack
down
of
next to
wine.
this. He sits down next to this other bum, and he's like, "Check it out!" And he throws it down. And the guy's like, "Oh man, you got some!" And he goes, "Stop reading it. Just open the damn thing."
Man, I'll tell you what, that's the place to go if you're homeless. I got to think, man, because people are down there, and people, I'll bet, are drinking a lot and spending money, and you get into that thing, and you see a guy, and he asks you for, or although if they're not asking for money, but still, you see somebody that might need some or whatever. It's the way to
Another
do it.
good one. Here you go. So this is it. So you're drinking, right? Everybody's drinking, but you can walk up and down the streets and drink and do whatever you want. Dude was in the garbage can, grabbing every drink in that whatever drink was in the garbage can. If it was canned, even if it was crushed or anything like that, he'd grab it and try to finish whatever was in everything that was in there,
Oh
and then threw
God.
it back in. He was drinking the drinks that were in the garbage can, like the
Oh.
saliva at the end or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, dude was just pounding whatever was in there. He didn't care. He just needed a drink.
Sleeping in the bathroom and drinking the end of other people's drinks out of the garbage can.
It
I
was
mean,
crazy, dude.
how
People
do you?
watching down there is no joke. That is no joke. You sit
I'll
there and
bet.
just people watch all day.
I'll bet.
So, on that note, you've had quite a few walks since we've last met. I feel like that should bring us into our what is usually the first series of the podcast, which is walking stories with Crack a Thug.
So, all right. I've been noticing there are a ton of childcare places around town. All right. And I don't know if it's like this in other cities, but the more I walk around and the more I drive around, I see more of these things because it must be really easy to open your own childcare or daycare. People have them, people just do them in their house. People just like run them out of their house. It's a business, but it must not take much because they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services combined to make this thing. It's called Step Up to Quality. It's this rating system for daycare services, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the explanation quickly is it recognizes and promotes learning and development programs that meet quality program standards that exceed licensing, health, and safety regulations. I feel like none of that made sense, but um, basically, it's just like if you're meeting the expectations and then doing anything above at all, you get some between 1 and 5 stars. The thing is, so I'm seeing these, and they make you a banner. They make you a banner and a sign to hang outside your place if you get one of these things. So I see the 5 stars, some 4 stars, seeing a few 3 stars. I think I've seen 1 2 star, but
Wow.
I saw the other day a 1 star banner.
Somebody hung it up. They
Somebody
hung
hung
up
a
their
one
one-star
star
banner.
child care service banner outside their building or the house, I think. A
Oh,
one
that's
star.
so great.
That's low. um,
That is so low.
it just I don't know. That just made me laugh because I'm seeing these things pop up all over the place. And I'm walking by, I'm like, okay, 3 stars. I don't even know if I'd hang that one to be honest with you, but because I don't know what you got to do to get a 4 or 5 star, but I don't know if I could open a daycare tomorrow out of my house, which seems like would be possible. It
Absolutely.
doesn't seem like it would be that hard to get 5 stars. Educate the kids or whatever, build some sort of learning program. Um, and that seems like it would be all you need. But anyway, that was my big thing from the last couple of weeks is I saw a 1-star banner hung
That
outside of
is
the
that
daycare.
is legit. How bad are you that you hang up a 1-star banner?
I want to go in there and see what it looks like inside. I mean, just I gotta think. Filthy. If you ever seen the Pursuit of Happiness, the movie with Will Smith?
Yeah, yeah.
He sends his kid to that daycare, and she's got him watching TV. That his kid knows about Love Boat and stuff all day,
Yeah.
and she's got I don't know. I forget. He walked in there and complained like about 3 things right away. He's like, "Can you at least put the dog upstairs or something?" You just have like animals roaming around and the TV's on. And anyway, I feel like it's got to be like that, but maybe even worse. Anyway, that was that was my walking story. The one other thing, something happened to me pretty funny today. I wanted to tell you about. I'm driving to work, and I
Yeah.
get one of 3 or 4 phone calls a day that are a number that I don't recognize, and it's all recordings about different things. We've talked about it, I think, before on here.
Yep.
Your vehicle warranty is expired, and stuff like that. So this one, I usually don't answer them. Once in a while, I do. Went ahead and answered this one today. All I'm doing is driving to work anyway. It is some sort of senior healthcare service thing.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah. So and the funny thing is, so they've kind of caught on to, they know that people are not answering these robot calls and stuff anymore. So what they've done now is I think they hire voice actors to pretend to do a recording, but pretend like they're having a conversation with you. It's like this whole thing. And it's like, because
It recognizes your response and
yeah.
gives you a new one.
And that
Yes.
was one of these. So it says, like I said, hello, and pause for a second, and then, oh, hello, can you hear me? That's what it said. And
You got to be careful. Don't say yes. Don't
oh,
ever say yes to those people. I heard that they can do these things on those things. They like record your voice saying yes, and then they do something. And then if you try to take them to court or whatever, they're like, we called him and here's the recording. We asked him this, and here's his. Is that your voice? Yeah, it's you saying yes. I
oh,
heard something about that
all
once.
right. Well, I've made that mistake several times, but including including today. So then she goes, then she's like, sounds like she's having a real conversation with you. So it sounds like a real person. But by this time, I kind of get the idea if they're really there or not. So,
Exactly. You can
hey,
tell.
this is Mary from senior healthcare services or whatever. Our records indicate that you may be eligible for supplemental healthcare insurance
Nice.
as a senior, of course.
As a senior, yeah, you gotta supplement that Medicare, man. Gotta get that
That's
A and B.
that's right. So then she says, "Can you confirm your age?" And I said,
You should just
39. Told the truth. Told the truth to the robot. And
exactly.
then she says, "Can you repeat that?" And and at this point, I'm like, okay, they're gonna hear 39, and I want to know what happens
Yeah, now I want to know what her response is.
when I'm not a senior. So I said again, 39. And I'm listening, and I realized they hung up on me. They just hang up if you're not. I guess they just call everybody. And if you're not 65 or whatever,
That's
bye.
so great.
So anyway, I was thinking like, man, I'm really feeling my age lately, and I'm gonna be 40 in 9 months, and I'm like, gosh, man, I'm starting to think about it, and then I get this
Makes you feel
call.
better now.
They want to give me some Medicare or whatever, and yeah, but
Feeling better about yourself now, though.
not eligible.
That's right, baby. You know who else is not eligible for Medicare?
Who's that?
Russell Westbrook.
Indeed, he is not. He's only 32 years old.
32 years old, lots of basketball left in him, lots of triple doubles to go, but he became the leader in triple doubles for a career. The best part about this is the people he passed up didn't even know when they were playing that they were the leader of of triple doubles. Oscar Robertson, they didn't come out with the stat until like 15 years after he had retired from the NBA. So he never even really knew what he had done while he was playing. That being said, congratulations to Russell Westbrook. This has been a weird few days. I've been listening to some radio. There's a lot of people, Russ is kind of a polarizing guy, right? Because he's been to a lot of places, played with a lot of good players, has not really ever won much of anything in the playoffs, especially since he left Oklahoma City. I think he's won, what they say, something like 3 playoff games or something. I may even not even be that many since he's left Oklahoma City. So, or maybe not since he left Oklahoma City, but maybe since Kevin Durant was, I can't remember. Anyway, however that stat goes, it doesn't matter. They somehow found a way to make this unbelievable thing that he's done into why is Russell Westbrook not a great teammate? Why is his style of play not conducive to the NBA? The triple-double is an amazing feat that a lot of people, if they're close, their team will let them get a rebound or, let them put an extra shot up just to try to get that triple-double. Russ does it by halftime most of the time.
Yeah.
So explain to us, Adam, as a basketball connoisseur, basketball coach, high school basketball coach, a person that gets to see a lot of basketball, how impressive is what Russ has done?
As impressive as anything else in the game. I mean, he's not going to get credit for this like he would if he was winning championships. If he was winning championships, he'd be probably talked about as one of the best players ever, or definitely of this era. And he should be definitely of this era for sure. He is one of the best players in this era. And but he's, like you said, I mean, you already said it. He hasn't won a lot in the playoffs. Hasn't even made the playoffs a ton, to be honest with you. Until after Durant left OKC, that next year, I think Russ carried them on his back, and I think that was the first year he averaged a triple double, and he got them into the playoffs. I don't think they won a series or anything, but he was so good that year. And then for the next, this is the 4th year. Everybody was talking about. So growing up, you always heard, oh my gosh, Oscar Robertson's the only player to ever average a triple double throughout an entire season. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that. That's mind blowing. This year is the 4th year that Russell Westbrook has averaged a triple double. So that should tell you it was that big. I mean, for 40 years, that was not, nobody else had done what Oscar Robertson had done, averaging a triple double for a season. And then you think about Magic Johnson, all the triple doubles he's had, Jason Kidd, the guys who you think of as the best, the guys that got triple doubles or that averaged, 18, 8, and 8, or, guys that nightly you were seeing, okay, he was an assist away from a triple double or a rebound away from, guys that almost had a ton and did have a bunch. Russell Westbrook blew by those guys and then because Oscar Robertson was, it's like 43 or something like that, more triple doubles than the second place guy, who was Magic Johnson. And Russ is past everybody now, past Oscar. It's cool to see the relationship that those two have kind of formed recently.
Yeah.
Because Oscar really likes Russ and he's really supported him, and he was like, I'm ready for him to break it. That's great. And they seem to have a lot of mutual respect there. But yeah, to answer your question, and I'm a guy who, all my life has been like probably put more value on the triple double than it's really worth, to be honest with you, because Russ is getting plenty of triple doubles and losses too. But,
oh yeah.
and that happens. That happens all the time. Um, but
The
it's still,
one that broke the record, they lost.
they lost.
He missed
And
a 3-pointer. He missed a 3-pointer that would have won the game.
it's exactly what, and it was a shot, questionable shot selection. It was an open shot, so it wasn't awful. And he was coming down the floor with 5 or 6 seconds left in the game. They, chose not to call a timeout, which I'm fine with because Russ is the best in the game at going full speed and just blowing by everybody and getting to the rim. And that's what I was hoping you would do. Unfortunately, they had like a 2-on-4. The Hawks were almost all back and they were kind of like closing in on him. They kind of forced, I think he could have early gone up the middle of the floor and tried to make a play. He kind of went to the right side and they were kind of like keeping him on that right side basically. So he took the shot, he took the three. Now that's where that comes in, where people for a long time have talked about he's hard to play with. Not necessarily he's a bad teammate, but he's just hard to play with um, because of his shot selection. He's never turned into a great shooter. He's made some incredible shots,
Mm-hmm.
but overall his shooting percentage is not great. It never was. And he does take some questionable shots in big situations a lot of times. And that's what I think people have the biggest problem with. But aside from that, man, you can't argue with how hard you don't see very many guys that play as hard as he does every night, every play. I mean, he is going 100 miles an hour, and his speed probably makes it look like he's playing harder than everybody else too, and that's fine. But he's still playing very, very
I
hard.
don't, I don't know if it makes it look like he. I think he really is. Like they talk about when you go to watch, people go to see people play.
Mm,
Like if you go, you're going to get to see Russ play at his best because he only has one speed and it's fast. And when he's playing fast, he's playing hard. If he wasn't playing fast, then he wouldn't be playing hard. So I think the fact that he always is moving so fast and the fact that he is so fast shows that he is playing hard.
I agree with you. I agree. He does. I can't name anybody that I think plays harder than he does. And that alone, that makes you a really good teammate. Now you can also be a jerk, but I don't think he is. I mean, I don't feel like I don't think anybody's really said, any of his former teammates has said like, I can't stand that guy. I can't stand him in the locker room and that kind of thing. Um, and I don't know, man, he's such a joy to watch. Even though he's not a great shooter, but look, Giannis can't shoot the ball either, and he's one of the
Yep.
best players in the world. And
But he also has a lot of fun. He's also a fun person. Russ doesn't always look like he's having fun. He plays hard, but even in the locker room and stuff, he doesn't just always seem like he's having fun.
Russ is serious. Russ is a pretty serious guy. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I'm really impressed. And like I said, he's only 32. He's in great shape. He looks like he might get 250. He's at 182 right now. He might get 250, 275, 300 triple doubles before I don't know about that much, but I mean, he's going to put this thing so far out of reach.
Yeah,
And it
there's no doubt.
to touch the game in every not every area, but so many areas. And like you said before, he's not getting 12, 10, and 10. He's getting in a 5 game span that got his from like 4 behind to breaking the record. 5 game span, he averaged it was like 23 points, 16 and a half rebounds, and 18, almost 19 assists
Yeah, he
over
was
that 5
getting.
games.
He had like 3 games where he had over 20 assists in that span.
And even if he didn't have a triple double with that, you get 20 assists in a game. That's Adam Schmidt's, whatever the opposite of a nightmare is. It's
Dream.
it's the best dream. I mean, I don't know. I just love a guy that passes the ball, and he's not passing the ball like, it's a lot of fun to watch certain guys. Whoops, sorry. Uh, Watch certain guys pass. He's not passing like Jason Williams. He's not
Mm-hmm.
making. He's not throwing the ball behind his
Flashy.
back. He's not real flashy. Yeah, but he commands so much attention when he drives the lane because he goes so hard that he forces defenses to react. they don't have, you don't have as much time to think about how you're going to defend when Russell Westbrook has the ball and he's going downhill. You have to just react, and he's good at finding those guys. He like LeBron, those guys are so big and strong. They can throw bullet passes all the way across the floor and hit a guy right in the hands ready to catch and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's so impressive. And those are the kind of assists he gets. And then drawing bigs, getting past his defender, drawing a big and dropping it off to to his post player. He does it all. And I love watching him.
Is Russell Westbrook going to go down as the Dan Marino, Charles Barkley kind of guy? Never won a title. Obviously a phenomenal player, record after record after record, but just never won it. Will he be in that category, or is he a step below those guys?
No,
as a player.
I think he's right there. He should be considered an all-time great when he retires. I think there's no doubt about it. I don't know if you put him in the top 15 or 20, or if in the top 30 or 40. I don't know where he's going to end up, but the numbers that he puts up, the way he affects a basketball game, you can't say that he's not up there with those guys. I don't know if he's going to win a championship. He's not going to win it in Washington, at least with this team. Although they were like almost the worst team in the league 6 weeks ago or something like that, and they've won a ton. And as soon as they got healthy, really, and they got Russ and Bradley Beal on the floor at the same time consistently in worked out their lineups and stuff, they started winning games. And it's really cool. And they played their way into that play-in tournament right now. They did lose again tonight. So I think they're going to have to do a couple things in the last few days here, the regular season, to make sure they stay in it.
They're 2 games above the 11 seed. So I don't think it's official that they've locked it up, but with a Chicago loss
tonight, and they lost, but yeah, I know they're close.
Yeah, with a Chicago loss or they won, then it would have locked up, but it is not currently in Chicago is not definitely out as of yet.
So it sounds
now, that being said,
it sounds like either a Chicago loss or
yes,
a Washington win will get them. So over the next, we're 4 or 5 days away from the end of the regular season. So as soon as that happens, they'll be in. And that's the thing. And that kind of brings us to one thing I wanted to touch on real quick, is this play-in tournament. I wanted to get your opinion, because there's a lot of opinions going on right now, and some people love it, some people don't like it. The thing I've heard a lot lately is people are starting to not like it because they don't want to have to see LeBron. They don't want to have to see Steph. They don't want to have to see Russ. They don't want to have to see those guys play extra games to get into the playoffs. They just want to see them in the playoffs. And for me, I'll just come right out and tell you, I don't go along with that. It's if that's the way your season went, and a lot of those guys, LeBron has just missed the most games he's ever missed in his career. I think he's coming back tonight, as a matter of fact.
Did he not? Because he could have played yesterday.
He did not
last night, but he did not. Yeah, he was a full participant in practice the day before, so they said he was eligible, but they weren't sure if he was going to be there. So it means he'll probably be out there tonight.
Yeah. So that's the thing is people are upset that those guys, that those superstars are going to have to play in this play-in tournament. To me, I love it. I love that they have to do that. And guess what? If the Lakers lose their first game or lose 2 games or whatever, and they get knocked out, I'm sorry. That's the way it happened. You know what I mean? Like they didn't win enough games earlier in the year. And yeah, LeBron was out for a long time. AD was out for a long time while LeBron was out. It just happens that way. And if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. Of course, we would all love to see those guys all in the playoffs, but that's just not the way it went. But it's going to be fun, I think, to see them in an elimination game, because that's when the best is going to come out of those guys in those games, you would think. How do you feel about the play-in tournament?
Well, I mean, it's the exact same as the stupid 1-game wild card. This is the playoffs. We're talking about the playoffs. Why do we have to expand it to 10 teams? That you're letting more than half the teams in the playoffs now. There was already more than half the teams in the NBA in the playoffs. Why do we have to make it 3/4 of the teams? No, you're not. There's no. You're making the regular season worth even less than it already was. And in the NBA, people have been talking about that forever with load management and bullcrap like that. This is exactly like the one game stupid thing they did in the wild card. There's no point to have it. It's the playoffs. If you're in the playoffs, you're in the playoffs. If you're not in the playoffs, you're not in the playoffs. Put the 8 teams in. Right now, it would be right now, Steph and LeBron would be in. They'd have to play the top 2 seeds, which would be Utah and Phoenix as of right now. Actually, I think those 2 teams are locked in as 1-2. But it just is why do we have to have a one that's not the playoffs in baseball and the playoffs in basketball are a series. They've been a series for a very long time. One game elimination games are the stupidest things in the world for the playoffs. If you made the playoffs, you made the playoffs. If you didn't make the playoffs, sorry, tough luck. You didn't make the playoffs. Care if your best player was hurt or not. It just didn't happen. Then that team's in the playoffs. I hate these one game playoffs. I know you're always talking about game 7 elimination games. It's just another elimination game. No, it's stupid. There is no reason for the San Antonio Spurs to be playing for a chance to be in the playoffs when they're below 500. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for any of that you could even go with just about any of the 7 through 10 seeds being able to. Everyone except Boston is under 500. So if you can't win half your games, you shouldn't be in the playoffs anyway. My personal opinion.
So then that makes me believe that you would think that they need to eliminate the Eastern Conference and Western Conference thing, right? I think we talked about this the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Too. I don't know why no, I don't know about that. Why? I'm good with East and West, right? That's more of a travel thing and who you're going to play the most. There's something to that. But at the same time, I'm totally down for, once we get to the playoffs, reseeding. You can have an East and a West, and really the East and the West for me is breaking down where you're playing at, right? So it just makes it, there's going to be an uneven amount of teams that you play. It's going to happen. So you make the uneven amount teams in your conference. Now, if you want to just say there's an NBA and we just take the top 16 teams, I'm in for that too. If you can figure out a way to make the games even and figure out a way to make the travel not as extensive, because as soon as you start making these teams travel more, they're going to want more days off and the season gets longer and all kinds of crazy stuff starts happening. So it all depends on how you want to do it. If you want to do an East and a West and reseed it when it comes down, I'm totally good with that. If you want to make it one NBA and just have straight 1 through 16, I'm good with that. I hate one game that decides if you make the playoffs or not. That's ridiculous.
Well, now the play-in tournament is weighted for the teams that are finished 7th and 8th, because those 2 teams play each other, 7th and 8th seed play each other. The winner of that game is in as the 7th seed, and then the loser of that game plays the winner of the 9 and 10 seeds, and then
they have 2 chances. So right. 8 has 2 chances to be 7. 8 has 2 chances to be in the playoffs.
And if you're 9 and 10, good. You have to win 2 straight games.
I'm happy. I'm happy that they make it a little bit easier, but it's still not a playoff series. It's like, I don't know. It's extra games for no reason. You're playing extra games, which players already hate playing as many games as they play. They're load managing all the time. It's extra games for zero reason. There's no reason for those. Why do we need 20 out of 32 teams bidding for a place in the playoffs when 16 out of 32 is already too many?
it just makes the end of the season, the regular season games, that much more exciting for more teams. I mean,
For
it just
four teams, three teams, really.
it get yeah. I mean, but for more than that, because
I mean,
you're
Boston's not going anywhere. Boston's in seventh. They have no chance either way, no matter what happens to them. They're either going to be in seventh or they're going to be in seventh. So they're playing in that tournament no matter what.
okay. So, but so then they know that they're going to have to play in that tournament. So the last few games, they're trying to win. If there's any way they can catch that 6 seed, they
There's
have
not.
incentive. Okay. Well, I mean, in that case, then fine. But you got to make sure you don't slip to the 9 seed too. I mean, so you
They
still have
can't.
to.
They're 2 games up on the 9 seed and three
At,
games back on the 6.
okay, at this point. So back it up a week. I don't know what it looked like a week ago.
Sure.
It means something then. But same thing for the 11 and 12 seeds.
I get it. So it gives
If they're within a
it
couple of
gives
games,
the
yeah,
sorry,
if they're
it gives
within a couple
the
of games of the 10 seed, those teams as well are still playing still playing meaningful games.
it eliminates more of what happens in the NBA a lot more than any other league, which is tanking or whatever you want to call it to get that lower seed. The teams that aren't really, that are sitting out their stars for whatever slight injury they may have to try to tank. When you get more teams playing to try to get into this, okay, I get it. I still don't like it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I love it. You don't like it. That's okay.
You know what I do love, Adam?
What do you love?
Well, first off, before we go any further, I just want to let everybody know that there is no comedy segment this week. If you've been listening this whole time for the comedy segment, we did not get to listen to Cam. Help me out.
Bertrand.
Cam Bertrand. We are going to listen to it, and we will do it next week. Promise. It's in. That being said, one thing that I love about the NBA, one thing I love about Major League Baseball, the NFL, one of my favorite things of all sporting events. We've had this conversation a few times. I love standing up, taking my hat off, and singing the national anthem. Another thing that I love more than anything is trying to be the person that can be doing something silly the longest, such as if a long clap is going on, like at a wedding, to continue to clap and be the last one to clap. That's one of my favorite things to do. Well, our friend Alex Blandino for the Cincinnati Reds, apparently for the whole season, has been making sure that he was the last player standing on the line or outside the line after the national anthem was over. This was caught by movie cameras, whatever you want to call them. This was caught by the cameras of Major League Baseball. And a fella by the name of, what's his name, Adam? Give me the Pittsburgh Pirates guy's name.
Luis Oviedo.
Luis Oviedo wanted to give Alex Blandino a run for his money. So he stood out there and would not leave until Alex Blandino left. First off, Alex Blandino won this way before it was over, number one, because that dude was just doing it. He didn't know what he was really doing. He was standing out there laughing, talking to his teammates. Alex Blandino stood straight up, had across his chest, and didn't move. He was ready to go. And Oviedo finally gave in after both players had been told by the umpire to get into their dugout. Oviedo finally gave in, and Blandino bowed, took a bow. After the game, they asked Blandino about it, and he says, "This is my favorite thing. I know we're 16-6, but in my book, we're 32-0 on anthems right now. Love it. This is baseball. This is having fun." Now, that all being said, I'm going to go back to being so upset with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball puts this on their Twitter, this video on their Twitter with some kind of laughing thing, and it was funny, like a funny thing they put on it. After the game, the office of the commissioner of baseball sent a note to the Reds manager, David Bell, and said, this will not happen anymore. Why does baseball consistently have to be the biggest hypocrite in the world? Why can they put out there that this is so hilarious and fun and then turn around and tell the Reds that they cannot do this anymore? The dude's just having some fun out there. What's the big deal?
Yeah, it was fun. I think once they're ready to start the game, I understand, because the umpires were like, okay, you had your fun. It's time to start the game. We're not waiting around because we have no idea how long this is going to go. If we just stand there and wait for this thing to be fun or whatever, we don't know when we're going to start the game. So we need to
No,
start.
then what you
They're
do
pretty,
is you start the game, and if the dude's still standing out there, then whatever can happen, kick him out. Do whatever you got to do as the umpire. Have there
that's
be
the
a
thing.
warning. Warn him. It is what it is. You want to be funny, funny. Go too far, don't cross the line. But don't laugh about it and then all of a sudden tell them they can't do it anymore. If he wants to go out there and have a little fun, let the kid have some fun.
Okay, so that's we've seen this a few times this year already, right? And I mean, where Major League Baseball promotes something that's happening, whether it's a bat flip or guys jawing at each other or whatever, and kind of like putting it on their Twitter account, Instagram, whatever, and say, this happened. Basically, that's to get people's attention. That's to say, this is a big thing and not important, but just kind of an offbeat thing that might interest you. That's the idea behind those things, is to draw interest, right?
To promote it. They are promoting it. They are using whatever it is to promote the game. They're
To promote
promoting
baseball and get people interested.
whatever that is that's happening. There's always something that is said with it too, and it's never derogatory, ever.
I know. I see what you mean.
When
Of
the
course not.
Twitters,
Yeah.
when they put it out on Twitter and put the video out there, there's a caption that goes along with that that's typed in by someone on Major League Baseball's Twitter account, and it's not negative towards what's going on.
Right, because they wouldn't do that. Now, my only thing is, and I've heard a lot of people have your opinion and say, you can't, promote this and talk, show it as like a fun thing to draw interest, and then tell them, and then suspend somebody for something that happened as a result or whatever. My only thing is, it's not it's not the same part of the league that are doing those two different things. It's a guy like me can be hired to run the Twitter account for Major League Baseball, and that's a separate. It's part of Major League Baseball, but I'm not running all of these tweets by the commissioner or by whoever's in charge of making those decisions. Those aren't the same people that are doing those things.
You're
Now,
running a
they can come back if the commissioner or who is ever responsible for making those decisions and sending that message to David Bell, or for handing down suspensions for things that happen as a result of guys flipping bats or yelling after strikeouts or whatever. They're just not the same people that are handling those things. Now, afterward, they might come back if a suspension is handed down to Alex Blandino for doing that because he delayed the game 30 seconds or something like that, then maybe the commissioner or whoever says, okay, since we don't want them to do that from now on, let's make sure we don't post that as something that's going to draw interest. They're two. I'm telling you, I think it's two separate
it's not a
entities
one-off.
that are handling.
It's not a one-off thing that's happening here.
I
This
know,
happens
that's exactly what I mean.
all year during baseball, and it's the same things. It's somebody jumping out of the dugout and screaming at somebody to come fight them. It's somebody flipping a bat. Hundreds of bat flips all the time. Hundreds of them all over the place. And then the same people are getting in trouble. You are one entity. It's one entity. Major League Baseball is one entity. It's a multi-billion-dollar entity. If you can't get the most important marketing part of your game, which is probably Twitter and Instagram, if you can't get that in line with the rules and what's coming down, then you are doing a terrible job of running your multi-billion-dollar industry. When you are marketing something, a billion-dollar industry is marketing their whatever they've got. They're not marketing the bad things that are happening. You don't market the things that your company doesn't want people to do. If you're doing something that your company doesn't like, they're not going to market the fact that you're doing that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a little bit different with sports, but um, I agree with you that they're not going to do they don't want to do the negative stuff, but it's not, it's like parts of it's taking part of it. So I don't think they're posting on Twitter or Instagram when fights happen. I think the stuff that maybe leads to fights sometimes gets posted because it's the emotional stuff that gets that stuff going. And that's interesting to people. People like seeing that stuff. But they're not, I just think it's not.
If you're 23-year-old kids right now, 23, 24, 25-year-old kids right now, their whole thing is Instagram and Twitter. That's what they live on, right? That's how you know who you are by how many followers and how many tweets have your name on them and blah, 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 blah. These Major League Baseball players are kids. They're 23, 24, 25, 27 years old. Every time they have Major League Baseball tweet something out about what they did and it's got their name on it, they are going to believe that's the coolest thing in the world. Look at all these people now following me because Major League Baseball tweeted out something I did. Turns out it's a bat flip or a taunt of some kind that ends up causing all kinds of issues. And then he ends up getting fined for the same thing that they just got him for. Guess what? He doesn't care about that fine. He cares about followers because now it's all about your brand and getting your brand up. So he's got more Twitter followers now, and he can start a podcast and make money off a podcast because he's got millions of followers. Or what does Trevor Bauer call them? Vlogs or whatever. And you can do all that stuff. That's what I'm telling you. That Major League Baseball is the dumb old man in the room that doesn't get who he's marketing to.
I don't disagree. I think in this case, we're with Blandino and Oviedo. I understand why they said that because it's just, they're strict about they're strict about starting games on time.
Absolutely.
And they always have been. And it's so I kind of understand once everybody's ready, especially the umpires, it's kind of part of their job to keep the game.
It is part of their job to get the game going. So get their asses off the field.
Okay. Then
why does Major League Baseball need to step in and send something down to David Bell about something so ridiculous as something that happened after the national anthem?
Alex Blandino actually sort of addressed that after the game when he was asked about it. He said like, I was a little nervous that the first base umpire, which is where the side that the Reds dugout was on, was going to throw me out because he kind of looked like he was getting a little irritated or like he was a little intimidating, kind of like looking at me or something. But if you're an umpire, I mean, how you're going to go, and this happens in basketball, I'm sure, constantly because they're constantly being berated by players and coaches. You have to kind of give a certain leash extension on what you allow.
Yeah, and you know what it is.
You're going to you're as an umpire. I think you're gonna be really, really careful not to throw a guy out for something like that.
Exactly. I'm not saying to throw him out.
You just said that. You said that.
I mean,
if you have to do that.
I'm saying if you have to do it, you have to do it. But what you should do, what should be done, is the first base umpire, third base umpire, what home plate umpire looks at first base umpire, gives him the old get this kid out of here. First place umpire walks over to him, puts his arm on him, says, real funny, ha, and escort him to the dugout. It's that simple. There's no reason to cause a scene about it. You just walk over to him. You're like, come on, man, get us funny. Let's go. Come on. We got to get this game on.
They basically did that and caused even less of a scene than that. The umpires told them like, let's go. That's okay. Okay. You're done. It's time to go. Time to go.
Exactly. I don't think the umpires did anything wrong. I think the umpires were great. I think the umpires were phenomenal. I think Major League Baseball is the dumbest thing in the world. The umpires took care of it. The guys were off the field. The game started on time. It might have started 8 seconds late.
Well, but they didn't. Like, they ignored the first 2 or 3 times the umpires said, let's go. They ignored it. So I think if I'm the office, I have to say something to that. If you're ignoring the umpires, not suggestions, but the umpires demands to get off the field because it's time to play. It's the same as if, a ball boy is standing up on the, down the line or something like that, or anybody. If a coach comes onto the field to make a pitching change and he walks off and he stands on the, in the 6th inning or something, he just stands on the warning track in front of the dugout. You're not going to start the game back until he goes in the dugout for safety reasons. And that's the same thing. And it's, I think the umpires told him, get out of here, get moving. We got to start this game. They ignored it a couple of times. And then they finally did it because they didn't want to get thrown out. So I think if you're I don't know. I understand Major League Baseball saying something like, don't do that. You can't just ignore the umpire's orders to get off the field when it's time to start the game.
To me, it's just another way Major League Baseball is just an old man and needs to just have some more fun. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You don't need to, I don't know. It's silly. I think it's all silly. I think everything about Major League Baseball right now, and I think the whole point of my wanting to bring this up was more of the Twitter to fines and things like that, and Twitter to suspensions and stuff. I just feel like Major League Baseball is lost in itself and doesn't know where to go. It wants to do one thing, but it feels pressured to do another. And it's got to figure it out because it's getting its head kicked in from both sides now. Because old man baseball, why are you putting that on Twitter? You're just promoting, unsportsmanlike conduct. And then you've got young, want to have fun, try to figure this thing out, try to want to be a baseball fan, but it's too boring. Oh man, look at that. That looks like a lot of fun. And now old man baseball, Rob Manfred comes down and fines him and suspends him. And now that kid's out. It's a lost. They are so lost. The front office of Major League Baseball is so lost right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a work stoppage next year. If they don't, is it next year? I think as the CBA is up, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't get renewed. I wouldn't be surprised if they start fighting over all kinds of stuff. Why in God's name do you come up with all these silly rules in Major League Baseball for the COVID year? And the one rule that actually makes sense out of everything is the one rule you don't adapt. Half of baseball pitchers hit, half of baseball they don't. That makes zero sense. You have 2 rules for one sport. That's dumb. I wish all pitchers had to hit. I like that aspect of it. But let's make it everything. Let's make everybody doing the same thing. 2, you put into effect a 7-inning doubleheader, but if you complete a perfect game or a no-hitter in through 7th inning, the history books will never believe it. You didn't have a chance to finish it, but the history books will never acknowledge that as a perfect game or a no-hitter or whatever you want to call it. Figure it out, baseball, because what you're doing right now is ridiculous. And beer league softball rule of putting a runner in scoring position, but if that man scores, it doesn't count as an earned run against the pitcher. Well, then don't even put him out there. There's so many stupid things going on in baseball right now that I can't even see straight.
I can tell. You are you've been consistent with your disapproval of
Disappointment. It's disappointment. I'm
disappointment.
disappointed in my favorite sport. I'm
Yeah.
disappointed.
Yep. I understand that. I understand.
You know what my second favorite sport is?
Basketball.
Tennis. Do you
That
know what our Mount
surprises me.
Rushmore? Do you know what our Mount Rushmore is this week?
Yes, I do.
We have a Mount Rushmore of tennis players.
This is gonna be fun, Chris, because neither one of us are really tennis guys, but that can make it kind of fun, though. You know.
It can.
Um,
So, how many people did you write down? I want to know first off, how many people did you write down?
12.
12. Nice. Now, did you have any couple that were automatics, right? Like, who was automatic? You didn't even have to look. You just wrote a name
Um, 2.5.
down.
Two and
Okay.
a half for
Okay.
automatic. Um, how many for you? Did you have any when you first
There was
said?
only one automatic for me. There was only one, and it was
Okay.
Serena Williams. I mean, come on. She's
Okay.
the most dominant tennis player of her era. There was nobody that was ever even close.
Yep.
Now, I was a little surprised at some of the numbers when I got into it. Was surprised she's only got one more Grand Slam than the next most Grand Slam total holder, something like that, and way less total victories. Way less total victories. So I was a little surprised at that. But no, I feel pretty good about where I did 2-2. I did 2 girls, 2 boys.
Okay.
How'd you do it?
Who are your Who are your boys?
Boys. The boys were the hardest. The boys were the hardest because I wrote down 3, and I feel like I mean, I went through and started looking, and victories and Grand Slams are kind of what I took as my 2 go-to things. And I also did a lot of whatever the internet said. But
Sure.
old Roger Federer, 20 Grand Slams, 103 titles. Next on the Grand Slam list, Rafael Nadal, whatever his name is, Nadal, Rafael
Raphael,
Nadal,
just like the Ninja Turtle.
Rafael Nadal. There you go. He also has 20 Grand Slams, if I'm correct, but he only has 86 titles. Therefore, I put him down as number 2, and Djokovic. Is that his name? I believe he's close, but I got like a Nadal / Djokovic. So
Okay.
I'm going with Nadal just because he has more victories and Grand Slams, but that could easily change in a week, it looks like, because they're only a couple off of each other. So I went with Federer and Nadal. I didn't go with that old dude that's got like 400 victories. What was his name? Rob Lowe or something like that? Oh, that's the actor.
Rob Lowe. Wow.
Rob Lowe. What was his name? Help me out here. What was that his name?
He's literally a great tennis player. I don't know. Who are you talking about? I don't know.
I'll tell you.
I don't know
So
anybody
anyway,
close to.
so on the women's side, I was looking at Serena, obviously. Steffi Graf, didn't realize that she was who Serena jumped for the most Grand Slams. She had 22. Serena's got 23. If these stats are even right that I'm looking at. The guy's name is Rob Lavar. That's what I was talking about. Rob
Okay.
Lavar.
Yeah. I remember seeing him.
Rob Lowe, Rob Lavar, or something like that. Anyway, yeah, but that dude here, I'll just give you his real quick because Lavar, where's he at? Jamie Connors. Is this him? No. This is great radio. Here we go. Rob Lavar. This dude had 200 career titles, career wins. He only had 11 Grand Slams, though.
Let me ask you a question.
It was back 1938, so there may not have been many Grand Slams. Yeah.
Is 200 a lot?
Well, considering Roger Federer only has 103.
Okay. There you go.
I went totally off of wins on this, totally off of victories.
So
anyway, the girls, I went Serena, and then I got Steffi Graf, and then Martina Navratilova and Chris Everett. Chris Everett and Navratilova, both 18 Grand Slams, pretty close in total victories. Both had more victories than Serena and Steffi Graf, but Steffi Graf 23 and 22, or Serena 23, Steffi Graf 22 career Grand Slams. I'm taking Martina Navratilova and putting her up there over Steffi Graf because of the amount of total wins, and she's only a few off on the Grand Slams. I'm putting her there with Serena, with Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal.
Very interesting.
Adam,
very interesting.
What's your 4?
So first of all, I'll tell you, Federer, Steffi Graf, and Martina Navratilova and Rafael Nadal were the first 4 that I wrote down that did not make my list. So,
whoa, you're going old school.
I'm going old school. I almost always am going to do that. And I ran with the idea that I felt like when you said tennis, Mount Rushmore of tennis players, you specifically said your Mount Rushmore of tennis players.
That is true. I did do that.
So,
and therefore I should have put Andre Agassi on mine, and I should have John McEnroe on mine, because that dude's a nutcase.
So what I started to do when I was looking at this is I wanted to do, as a joke, is pick the 4 most attractive female tennis players ever and make them my 4, and just do that, and then pretend like I don't know what you're talking about when you say something about that. Like, who are you talking about? I don't know what they look like. I chose not to do that because I was going to take too much time, and they're all Russian and I can't pronounce any of their names. So, I did go. I went number 1. I went Andre Agassi. He was the face of tennis when we were growing up. When I first found out what tennis was, he was a huge star in the 90s. And because I have Andre Agassi on there, I also have Pete Sampras on there. Pete Sampras was his biggest foe, and actually I think has better numbers. I think he probably was the best tennis player in the 90s.
He had more Grand Slams. He didn't have more total victories.
More Grand Slams.
He had like 40 less total victories, but he also had like 11 more or 8 more Grand Slams.
Okay, so probably 1 more titles, and that's what I wrote down, Grand Slams next to these people. But really, there are some other people on this list that have more Grand Slams. But I went Agassi and Sampras because that was in the 90s when we were growing up. Those were the 2 guys. And that was like the first exposure I had to tennis. I thought about putting Martina Navratilova there for that same reason. I picture Martina Navratilova, her card, and pictures and articles about her in Sports Illustrated for Kids is what I kept thinking about. I still have all of those cards that came on the perforated sheet that I got from Sports Illustrated for Kids for years and years and years. I still have all of those.
I totally believe that.
Pathetically. And so I went Agassi, Sampras. I went Serena because you can't be alive now and not put Serena Williams on a Mount Rushmore of tennis. And then, so if I was a big tennis guy, and I know a couple people that are pretty big tennis fans, if I was a big tennis guy, I feel like this is the era to be alive. This has to be the best tennis era ever. Number 1, you have Serena. Number 2, you have, between Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, those are 3 of the best tennis players ever, men's tennis players ever. And
imagine if they wouldn't have been all playing against each other all these years.
Federer would have 6,000 Grand Slam titles if he didn't play those other 2 guys.
Yes.
Right. I don't know if that's a lot in tennis or not. But you said 200 was a lot before. So 6,000 sounds like a lot.
Titles. 20 Grand Slams for Federer, 20 Grand Slams for Nadal, 18 for Djokovic. If just one of those guys weren't in there and they each split half of his winnings, say Djokovic wasn't in there, and they split 9 apiece, they're both sitting at like 24, 25 titles.
Yep. And that's more than Serena has, or that's about the same as Serena has, I think. And
Serena's at 23. Yeah.
So I went I figured I'm going to choose one of those three guys, and I put Novak Djokovic on there only because I have had at least 4 or 5 people tell me over the years that I look like him. That's the only reason I put him on my Mount Rushmore.
Was Aaron Rodgers your quarterback list in that case? Because you look just
Uh,
like Aaron Rodgers.
no, I didn't. I don't think I put him on there, but I think I was a little more serious about the
Yeah, I think,
quarterback
I think
list.
probably. Yeah, I can see a little bit. I can see a little Joker in you. I call.
I don't
Do
know.
they call him the Joker like they call?
I feel like they do.
Yeah.
I was I'm a little torn because I was looking at some stuff and I didn't realize that Pete Sampras, his nickname was Pistol Pete. I didn't know that, but I read that.
No, that's not his nickname. No, that was somebody might have called him that one time in high school when he played basketball for a season, and that was it.
I had a hard
Dude,
time
Pete
because there's
Sampras
only one
was the
Pistol Pete.
sweatiest. He was the sweatiest, hairiest tennis player ever. You know
He
when
was
like
hairy.
when people have like black, like stark black hair, and their arm hair looks like it's thicker than the hair on their head. That's what I think of when I think of Pete Sampras. Like the thickest eyebrows you've ever seen in your life, the hairiest arms ever. I think eventually he started losing some of the hair up top, but oh my gosh, that dude sweating like a son of a gun.
Is Sampras Italian? Is that an
He's
Italian
got to
name?
be.
It
Well, I
seems
mean,
like
I
he
don't
has to
think
be,
that
right?
the last name I don't think is Italian in a sense. Maybe it is. I don't know, but he definitely looks
Maybe his mother's
Italian.
family
Yeah,
was Italian or
yeah.
something.
Maybe Mama was Italian. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those were my four. I mean, I had, like I said, Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova, Federer, Nadal. And then I started writing down like Jimmy Connors was great. McEnroe was probably the most he might be the most popular or recognized at least tennis player. Um, I wrote down like Billie Jean King, Arthur Ashe. Those were great players. And Arthur Ashe was like the
Trendsetters.
first,
Yep.
yeah, like the first like African American star. And I wrote down Don Budge. Don
Oh,
Budge.
Don Budge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just
Yeah.
that was my favorite name, so
Oh, nice.
went ahead and
Don
wrote him
Budge.
down.
Yeah, I don't blame
Saw
him.
him in an all time great list, so made me
Was he
laugh.
like number 70?
In the picture, I saw somebody had him in a top 10 that I
Wow.
saw, and the picture I saw was just as funny as his name. He has like big baggy pants, playing tennis in big baggy pants and a real tight shirt. It was very funny. He's
Nice.
from the 30s, I think. Um, so I just that made me laugh. So I had to write him down. Don Budge.
Mm-mm-mm.
If you add an apostrophe T onto his first name, don't budge.
Oh, I like it. Don't budge. That's exactly right. Oh Lord.
Real stupid. All right.
No comedy segment this week. So we're pretty much up at the end of the podcast here.
And let me tell you, no comedy segment, but in place of that this week, I want to tell you that now, whenever you're listening to this, it's not going to be the case. But right now, as we're recording, happy heavenly 84th birthday to the great George Carlin.
Oh man. 84th. Does somebody still have birthday? Do you still celebrate birthdays after somebody's dead? Like once somebody dies, do you say today's their 84th birthday, or do you say today is George Carlin's birthday? He died in 2000, whenever.
I think you do that, but in the last year or two, really, is the first time I started hearing this, but I feel like everybody's using it all the time now. Happy heavenly birthday
Oh, heavenly
is what they
birthday. I
call it.
like that. Happy heavenly birthday. So happy heavenly birthday to Julius Caesar, who now turns 2024 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's one more year away from being able to buy or to rent a car in heaven. You have to be 2025, 2025 in heaven. So happy birthday,
Insurance
George
goes down
Carlin.
too.
What's that?
Insurance goes down too.
Insurance goes way down. Goes way down. You can rent a car. No problem on the insurance. Okay. So I have to pick. So we're gonna move. We are going to move Cam Bertrand to next week. If you haven't
Mm-hmm.
watched that yet, it's on YouTube, and it's Your Best Friend Sucks, I think, something along those
Yep.
lines. Um,
I tell you right now, I watched it.
oh, good.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about it. We'll go till next week. I was going to say something, but I'm not. We'll just go to next week.
I could have squeezed it in, man. Shoot. Um, it was. I would have had to really squeeze it in, but I think I could have made it. I just
It was
didn't.
short. It was only like 35, 40 minutes or something. It wasn't long.
See, I should have done it. We started thinking about all these things we wanted to talk about, and I was like, we could sit there and talk about stories of what's been going on in the last 2 weeks. We could still sit here and talk about them, but
We could still sit here and talk about it because there's been plenty going on. That's for sure.
yeah. Um,
We didn't even
anyway,
get to get into LeBron James. What LeBron James said about it, which is basically what I say about the playing tournament. But we'll get off of that. Go, continue.
Yep.
What were you saying?
LeBron was excited about it last year, and then his team is going to have to play in it this year, and so now he doesn't like it.
If he was just consistent like me and just hated it from the beginning, then we'd be all right.
See, nobody would question it. Mount Rushmore for next week, Chris.
Tell me.
I'm going to go. Stop me if we've done this before. I don't think we have. The Olympics are still. I'm hearing nothing about it.
No, they just had DK Metcalf just ran in the 100-yard dash or something like that, and qualified for, I don't know if he qualified for the Olympics or if he qualified for another meet to try to make the Olympic team. Like, DK Metcalf has got a chance. And that was bringing me to another thing. I kind of wanted to talk about Tim Tebow signing a contract, but we got time. We'll do it a different day. What do you think about Tim Tebow? What do you think about Tim Tebow getting an invite to Jaguars camp?
I love it. I
love it too.
I'm impressed by Tim Tebow all the time, man. That dude is. If I had half his mindset, I'd be in way better shape than I am. It's.
I think everybody keeps saying that. Well, he's taking a spot from somebody who could really try to be making the team. No, he's the last person invited to camp. Whoever the person's spot he took wasn't going to make the team either. Mm-hmm. So obviously, the relationship with him and Urban Meyer wants him around the team, right? In some shape or form. Why would you not? Everybody that's ever played with Tim Tebow loves Tim Tebow. In the end, he's probably going to be a coach. He's probably going to end up being some kind of coach on this team. Something like that's going to happen. But this gets him into the facilities at the start of training camp and let Tim Tebow be Tim Tebow, man. This is what everybody wanted Tim Tebow to do before. Be a tight end. He didn't want to be a tight end. He wanted to be a quarterback. So he did his quarterback thing. Went to try to. Everybody's like, he failed at becoming a Major League Baseball player. Like, he didn't fail at all. He actually did pretty good for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it was. He wasn't terrible. He stayed on in the Mets organization for 3 years. He didn't get cut right away. And it wasn't because he was terrible and they just wanted to put butts in seats. He just, he hit the ball. He played well. The guy is just a freak athlete. He's just hasn't found what, he's not the greatest at what he does. He's really good at a lot of things.
I feel bad for him in that way. I don't think he feels bad for himself at all because that's his mindset is so pure.
He's blessed
and
to have he's blessed to have the opportunity to be able to do the things he's been able to do.
Yeah. And I sit here and just complain all day long about how much I don't like my job as I'm doing it. And he's like happy for everything. Now, he's playing professional sports, but yeah, no, that guy is so impressive, man. And I agree with you. I was going to say that, I think it's a little underrated how well he did for not playing baseball since he was in high school or whatever.
Yep.
And he actually kind of held his own there. And if he would have started that a little earlier, he might have actually made it. He's a world-class athlete. He just, you're right. He just maybe hasn't found that perfect fit yet. And now he's, I don't know what he is, 30 something, maybe early 30s.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how much time he's going to have left to make a professional sports team as something else that he's not done before, but he's probably as knowledgeable about football as anybody in the game. So it's not like he's going to have to learn how to play tight end, really. I'm sure he knows a ton about it. It's not, so he's not coming in. He's not a guy who played baseball his whole life and just kind of wants to take a chance at football. This is a football guy who's been around the game since he left it too. He's
still
an
working
analyst.
for ESPN. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, man, I'm kind of rooting for him. I hope he makes the team. I don't think it's too far fetched. And if he does, he's not taking a spot from another guy. He's going to earn his way onto that. If he makes that team, he's going to earn his way onto it. They're not giving him a free pass.
I don't think he's going to make the team. I think that Urban wants him to help. I think he's going to end up being a coach on this team somehow in some capacity. I don't think Urban's got a spot for him right now, but I think there will be something. They're going to get him in that building all the time. Him and Urban, they moved right when Urban moved to Jacksonville, he moved right down the street from Tim Tebow. Like they're as close as you can be. Yeah. Which is fine. That's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A good, strong relationship and friendship between a coach and a player.
And he's letting him. That's all politics. There you go. All politics. He's going to get an invite just because he knows somebody. Well, he's getting an invite because the dude's really a good athlete.
And maybe a little because he knows somebody, but
and maybe because he knows somebody. It is the way it works, man. You know what, world? Get over it. Because if you're going to be upset about the politics in sports, in work, in anything, if you're going to be upset about that, then you're going to be upset for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you're the best of the best, you're going to make it in whatever you're doing. If you're middle of the road or below that, and somebody has to choose between you or somebody they know, and you guys are about even, guess what? That dude's going to make it. The dude that they know is going to make it. It just is what it is. Sorry about your luck.
And I think you're right on the nose there. Just having him in the facility, around the team, around other players, the positive energy that comes off of that guy all the time, you want that in your life, in everybody you know's life. I mean, that's important to have people like him. He's on like another plane. He's on a high level of having that just motivation and being, thankful, being thankful for opportunities and just having that positive mindset all the time. Something that I don't necessarily have naturally, but I seek out people like that because I know it's good to be around people like that. It's you get the rays of energy off of those people and it makes you feel good, and it kind of helps balance you out a little bit. So I agree with you. Good thing for Tim Tebow.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That's all I got. That's all I had on that. I just wanted to get your take on it.
Yep.
That being said, what's our Mount Rushmore for next week?
Mount Rushmore is going to be Olympic sports. So I'm not talking and forget about basketball. Okay. Of course, that's my favorite. That's the only sport I watch in the Olympics, but basketball doesn't count.
Man, that sucks. Seriously, that's the only Olympic sport you watch?
Yeah, I don't care about the Olympics.
You know how much I love the Olympics.
I know. And I thought, okay, Chris is going to like this one, I think.
Oh, so, yeah.
The things like, in baseball, do they even have baseball in the Olympics anymore?
I don't know. It's been in and out. I don't think it is.
So the main sports like that, those don't count. I'm talking your favorite sports to watch in the Olympics, sports that you probably don't normally watch throughout the year for the 3 years in between or whatever.
So no golf, no basketball.
Yeah, I would say golf. No golf. Yeah,
You're looking for track and field, gymnastics. Are we doing winter sports as well, or just summer sports?
I was just thinking that. I'm going to say any. I'm going to say winter or summer.
Oh my God!
Pick your four favorite.
Dude,
your four favorite.
Can we split it up? Can we do summer and then like somewhere down the line do winter? I want to do winter next week. I want to do summer and then winter.
Summer this week, winter next week. Summer is mine for this week. Winter is yours for next week.
Perfect. All right, that's what we'll do. Because that's too many. That's too many. If you want me to try to decide between And is track and field one, or do I got to choose like the 40-yard dash, or are we just saying track and field?
I see that's tough because I feel like you might think, you might not care much about shot put, but you love discus. So in
Mm-hmm.
that case, I think, yeah, you split them up. If you love the relay, if you don't care about one guy sprinting 50 yards, but you love the 4-man relay, however long that is, yeah, individual events is fine. Individual events is fine. And so we're doing summer this week, and then we'll do winter
Sorry,
next
I
week.
had to
So
search. I had to ask Siri to search for me what this was called. Here it is, like the biathlon. Like if I got to choose between the biathlon and something else, which is where they have to like cross country ski and then every once in a while
yeah,
grab a
shoot clay
rifle
pigeons.
and
Yeah,
shoot
yeah,
at a target or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's the coolest thing in the world.
yeah. Not skeet shooting, but ski shooting.
Oh, ski. Ooh, I like that. That's good. That's good. Oh my goodness. See, this is gonna make me get into a whole but like, oh man, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be tough. I'm gonna write down 400 different sports and I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to figure this out. All right,
yeah.
I'm excited about this one.
I'm gonna have to look up. I don't know which sports are in which Olympics. I know basketball is in the Summer Olympics. That's the only thing I know. So I'm gonna have to
There
look
you
this
go.
up. I'm gonna have to spend some time on this one.
All right, that sounds good to me. All right, so we got we got Summer Olympic Mount Rushmore, sports Mount Rushmore. We've got Cam Bertrand, my friend sucks. We will have playing games
Mm-hmm.
to talk about next week. For the NBA, we'll have some more. I'm sure Major League Baseball will do something stupid again, or be hypocritical of some type over the tweet box and what they actually do.
You and I did not discuss the latest Amir Garrett saga.
I have nothing to talk about Amir
I
Garrett.
know. We're not gonna
I'm
get into that now.
I have nothing to talk about Amir Garrett. I'm good. I have nothing to talk about him. I don't even know what the newest is. What happened?
In between our last podcast was the whole thing with Anthony Rizzo and the fight,
Oh, the
and he got
Baez deal. Yeah,
suspended.
where
Yeah, Baez came
the
out and
whole
all that kind
the
of stuff.
now the whole thing about that, you know how I feel about Amir Garrett. I'm not going to get into that because pitch. Okay, learn how to pitch first, then do your thing. If you are getting suspended for inciting a benches clearing brawl, how is jumping over the railing and running onto the field not inciting a benches clearing brawl?
That but is that just to play devil's
It's not.
advocate?
You were the only person that did it. The whole team didn't get up and run out there.
Well, they
You
did
were the
after
one
that.
that did it. Well, they did after it because he
But
incited them to go out there.
but
They
isn't
both did. Shouldn't they both though? Shouldn't they both get that? I totally agree that one of them that I'm you know how I feel. Hey, I'm good. If you're going to do it, get him. But I feel like both of them should probably be in trouble for that.
I'm good if Baez got suspended for at all. I would totally get that. But I mean,
With him not being suspended,
for me, yeah, I was surprised that he didn't get suspended since he was the first one that came out. But for me, the inciting was the talking trash directly at the guy and putting your hands out like this and saying, "Come get me if you're going to come out and get me." That's inciting. Then the benches clearing brawl started with Baez coming out to me.
the benches clearing brawl, nothing would have happened. It would have been Amir Garrett doing his thing, and he would have got suspended for the doing all that because they're looking at Amir Garrett every time. He's got a Vontaze Burfict sign bullseye on his back, which is totally his fault.
Yeah, no question.
If Baez stays in there, nothing happens. Baez jumps out and goes out on the field. Now the bench is clear. I feel like Baez should have gotten something for that as well. That's all I feel about that. I don't want to get into that though, because Amir Garrett's got me in a mindset right now that I just don't understand. I love Amir Garrett. I love energy on a baseball diamond. I love people that have energy when they're out there playing. When I'm playing or coaching, I'm constantly there should always be fun energy going. That's not good energy. That's
Yeah,
bad
it's
energy, dog.
bad energy. Mhm.
Bad energy. Hey, let's get the wheatgrass out, set it on fire, and it's not wheatgrass, is it? What do they do? Sage. Sage.
Sage.
You know, we got to have good energy.
We
Good
need
vibe.
Kyrie.
What is
We need
that's
Kyrie
right.
to circle
That's
the
right.
locker, the clubhouse, and do some sage burning.
What does Eugenio Suarez say before every Zoom press conference?
Oh,
Good vibes
good,
only,
good
baby.
vibes
Good
only.
vibes only.
Yeah, he needs to talk to Amir a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I gotta, yeah. Anyway, all right. That being said, I'm totally good with that. We've got summer Olympic sports on the Mount Rushmore. We've got Cam Bertram. We've got playing games. We'll have more baseball. We should have a pretty decent podcast coming up next week. I'm pretty excited. Plus, of course, walking stories with Crack a Thug, which has become my new segment of the podcast. I can't wait to hear if anybody's got a half star that you walk across for watching little kids. On that note, don't forget to turn your headlights on.